Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join this keynote talk with Cloudsmith. Why continuous packaging is vital to secure pipelines. First, a little bit about me. My name is Dan McKinney, and I'm the Developer Relations Lead at Cloudsmith. Today, I want to tell you about continuous packaging and why it is a vital but often overlooked aspect of securing and accelerating your software supply chain. A little bit about myself first. I've worked in various roles in software for over a decade now, from technical writing in fintech to systems engineering in manufacturing in a silicon wafer fab, actually, and now to developer relations at Cloudsmith. Some of you that have a keen ear for an accent will already have figured out that I'm from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I'm passionate about developer relations. I bridge the gap between our users and our internal engineering teams, both ways, all the time, a full duplex bridge, if you will. I provide feedback back and forth so that each side are connected. Communication is absolutely key. And I'm passionate about customer success because without users deriving value from our platform, we're nothing. I'm here to help and onboard and be a guiding hand at any stage that it's needed. And documentation. I love good documentation. I like to write it as much as I like to read it. And documentation, it shouldn't be a separate thing. It's as much a part of a product or a tool as any other feature is. And I'm also very passionate about music. And this is a little bit of an outlier here because before the world shifted under our feet in 2020, I was actually a reasonably successful DJ. It's a bit of a sideline. I started it in university and it turned into a very interesting sort of second career. I hope to return to it much sooner rather than later. And finally, I have a complete and absolutely unstoppable love of all things Lego. I really do. I spend far too much of my disposable income on Lego. My office is full of it. My 6-year-old son doesn't complain. He loves it. Except when I borrow his to decorate my office. He gets very grumpy about that. I'm trying to do less of it. You can find me on Twitter at DevRelDan. And it is a new profile. I have another profile that I use for my DJ persona. So I really would appreciate the followers. So please give me a follow if you can. So who are Cloudsmith? Well, Cloudsmith is a fully managed package management as a service and that enables your team to quickly set up private and secure delivery pipelines in minutes. We provide a single source of truth for all software and dependencies that isolates and protects your teams and customers from supply chain attacks and enables you to achieve secure distribution. We were founded in 2016. We're headquartered in Belfast, Northern Ireland. We have over 225 global points of presence, and we support over 23 package formats. And we provide engineer and one DevRel-driven customer support 24/7. So, continuous packaging, what is it? What do I mean? Well, in short, it's the art and science of continuously building packages and containers to securely automate software pipelines. And to put that into a more concrete and actionable way, in order to build secure software development pipelines using a DevOps methodology, you need the ability to universally store and deliver packages securely and efficiently. Now, for years, package management was a somewhat painful aspect of building infrastructure until automation, containers, and the methodology of DevOps became popular. The repeatable nature, leveling the playing field for software installs. You know, it works for me is now, it works for everyone, but it still has the caveat of if configured just right. Now, as complexity grows, managing dependencies and containers, holding different layers of packages written in multiple languages, we need best-in-class tools to secure, manage, and control the chaos. Tools like Snyk, with their shift-left approach to security at the source code level, are vital. And tools like CircleCI to automate the continuous integration of source code and package dependencies are vital. And tools like Terraform to automate and codify the creation of infrastructure are vital. But however, none of them exist in isolation, and none of them alone are enough. Continuous integration and continuous deployment or delivery get put together. But in some ways, they are distinct. You can think of it as a straight line where packages and containers can be used all the way through. And that's what we're calling continuous packaging. CI, CD, CP. Although, since it could be described as a glue layer between integration and deployment, it's more CI, CP, CD. And maybe another way to look at it is that continuous packaging is a differentiator of CI output and CD input. So packages as the outputs of builds, packages pulled from, cached, and isolated from public upstreams, packages scanned and checksums and signatures verified, and then accepted or rejected, and then packages promoted through staging to production deployments or directly to your own customers worldwide. So yes, it's packages and containers all the way through, and in some ways, it always has been. But it's only recently that we have developed the tools to really unify and enable three things that are vital for continuous packaging, and that is provenance, isolation, and acceleration. Now, here at Cloudsmith, we see a shift in the mindset of our customers. They're pulling packages with distinct access codes so you can see what machines are doing and where and when. We see them building a provenance chain and a better picture of what is happening in their software supply chain, isolating upstreams and third-party dependencies and accelerating secure distribution and deployment. So, I mentioned provenance. What is a provenance chain and why is that important? Well, in order to effectively run, security is vital. A large majority of software deployments contain open source software, transitive dependencies of dependencies all the way down. In fact, the GitHub State of the Octaverse report in 2019 found that open source projects have an average of 180 package dependencies, and that was over a year ago. It's probably going to be a lot more than that now. So you need to know and be able to verify when packages and containers entered your supply chain and where they get deployed. So provenance is a single source of truth that gives you a centralized pane of glass for your software supply chain, from trusted sources right through to delivery. And it's signature verification that lets you fact check the seal of authenticity for your software using checksums and signatures. So you can prevent tampering and check for data corruption. And it's also vulnerability scanning to continuously assess threats in your software and dependencies and protect your customers by shipping clean software only. Combined with the single source of truth, it's a first look approach. It's immediate knowledge. This is particularly useful when deploying using automation, as of course is the DevOps way. And it complements shift-left security, which, as I said earlier, you absolutely still need. But it's not enough on its own. It can't be ignored either. Up until now, at deploy time, there are additional steps when pulling in other dependencies. And that's a hole in the provenance chain. It's a gap to be filled. So how do you fill that gap? Well, you need a tool with a good API, a good interface that talks all of the native package formats. It builds up a chain of trust for a package, either pulled in from a public repository or built by an internal development team. Another way to put that is that continuous packaging is a methodology for provenance and isolation for all packages and containers you're using in your infrastructure. So I say isolation a few times. What is isolation and why is that important? Well, as I said, it's generally accepted that a lot of the software you build is built by someone else. So a lot of the software you run is built by someone else. It's open source and it's built on open source. This is the most likely channel of attack, with an infinite number of attack vectors into your code base. And by connecting directly to a public repository, you've opened the door to let them in. We must do better. Imagine having a layer in between where you can proactively prevent known vulnerable software from entering your deployments. You can cache assets that your security team have vetted, or you can simply pull a software bill of materials. It's very common practice to configure a public upstream or repository that's managed and ran by a community that doesn't have full control over push packages, and they're downloaded millions of times a day. Continuous packaging defines isolation as the ability to cache packages away from public upstreams so that you control package availability. If a package is removed from a public upstream, you still have a copy. I'm sure everybody remembers the chaos that ensued when LeftPad was removed from NPM. Or if a CVE or a vulnerability appears in a new version of a package, you have previous versions. You may not yet be affected, or you could roll back. Or even if a license changes, you have the current version with the same license. There's no immediate impact. It gives you time to assess and prepare. These are all held in your environment, under your control, as part of your software bill of materials. It also provides your security teams with a proactive view of how packages get pulled in. So you could say, pull packages from a public upstream into a quarantine, tag them, and then promote them to your production repository once they've been cleared. Any new package can then be vetted before use, preventing developers pulling in just any package, because it's all very well, I need this one package that I know this one package. But do you really know it? How can you be sure? That package has its own dependencies, transitive dependencies all the way down. This is where it gets complex. And that's exactly where you need the visibility. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, just last week, it was revealed by a security researcher, Alex Bursan, that over 35 major companies were found to be vulnerable to the injection of malicious packages into their software supply chains. It's been called the dependency confusion or the package name squatting attack. And the process was roughly this. Identify the names of some private internal packages, primarily through leaked information in JavaScript files and from other packages. Then upload a package with the same name to one of the public repositories. And I said, anyone can upload. There's very little or no checking performed. Wait then for a build process or an individual developer to try to pull the package. What happens is the imposter package is pulled from the public upstream instead of the private repository, especially if it's been pushed to the public upstream with a later version number and they've just specified the latest package that they want. Now, obviously, a build using this imposter package would fail unless that package implemented the same functionality as the package it was impersonating. But that's not the point. By the time it's been pulled and an attempt made to install the package, remote code execution has already been achieved, thanks to things like package pre-install scripts in package managers. And in a CI environment where there may be nobody actively monitoring builds, this failure could go unnoticed for a while. Now let's also consider for a moment that the imposter package did implement the functionality from the original package as well as its own malicious code. And given that there have been major leaks of internal source code in the past, it's not impossible for that to happen. It's not impossible that one of those leaks could lead to an imposter package that's been built with the functionality of an original package. In that case, the build would succeed. And this results in something akin to the SolarWinds breach, with a product or package now compromised, except it wasn't even necessary to penetrate a network or attack a build host or other infrastructure to achieve the same outcome. Providing provenance and isolation insulates you from this form of attack. Being able to definitively know what the packages you're pulling in are and where they come from. It's extra layers of protection for your software supply chain. So, how would we mitigate this attack? There's a few ways. One way to mitigate this attack is simply not to use public upstreams at all and to manually verify all packages that are used. But especially as we move forward, this is an increasingly difficult and unrealistic task. And it's certainly one that doesn't scale. But another approach, building upon the principles of provenance and isolation could look like this. You have two repositories, one unsafe or unvetted with upstreams enabled, and one that is vetted, a clean repository, and it has upstreams disabled. Packages are pulled from upstreams into the unsafe repo. You then use automation using the repository API to pull package checksums and signatures, and you can run vulnerability scans and get the results. If all your checks are cleared, the package can then be promoted over to the vetted repo, ready for use by development teams and build and deployment processes. Now that's a fairly brief statement and overview, but there's a lot of things at play here. Really, you need to minimize trust, scan at source during build and at packaging, isolate from third parties and control the single source of truth, restrict publishers and be a curator, not just a consumer, pin dependencies and prefer repeatable builds, use environment segregation, don't build all in one containers and use package promotion. Draw a line from build through to deployment. Secure the supply chain. So when you can guarantee the provenance and isolation of your packages, you can defend against dependency confusion. So what's left? Well, that brings me to my next point, acceleration. We now live in a remote, distributed world, and it's hard to see how we will ever go back to the old normal. Development and operations are now work from home jobs. We need tools that provide strong collaboration and normalize the behavior no matter where in the world you sit. Package management is a chatty interface from local package managers to servers. And so there really is art and science to effectively minimizing the communication times between where you are and where the data resides. So you really need to implement package management on a global scale, providing each individual team member with an optimal experience. So you need tools that are built upon the native technologies of package managers. Some package protocols, like Maven, for example, are extremely chatty. You need to support these, but also with the best possible performance, with abilities like accelerating the index creation for a repository dynamically to provide your packages and containers to the edge at speed with global points of presence. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Some people are already thinking, oh, I just need to stand up some repos on a cloud instance, on a cloud provider of my choice, and I'll drop a CDN in front of it all. But actually, that's not enough. You need more than just a content delivery network. You need something a lot smarter and more context aware. We call that a package delivery network, or a PDN. It's a smart CDN built specifically for software distribution at the edge, not just general distribution, but packages and images, software distribution at the edge. So no matter where you're deploying packages, using packages or pulling packages, Mallory in Belfast has the same experiences as Cody in San Francisco or as Mel in Sydney, Australia. As a quick case study, one of our earliest customers at Cloudsmith was a company called MyOB in Australia. They had 60 plus development teams, all using different software and tech stacks, tens of thousands of packages in various formats. They wanted to unify it and bring it all into one place. That immediately raised their game. It raised their velocity, one tool to talk to. A centralized single pane of glass to manage their packages and containers, regardless of the format. It was completely normalized. So you might be wondering, how do I build this continuous packaging? How do I achieve this? Well, the good news is you've actually already started. Package management is the foundation for continuous packaging. Continuous packaging is entirely built upon it. It's an extension of package management, and it brings package management forward for the DevOps age. You've already started down the path to understanding continuous packaging. using native package management tools, uploading to and downloading from registries and repositories. But what's important now is new tools for control, visibility, analytics, and accelerated delivery, on top of the information you already have and the foundations that you already have in place. So in summary, continuous packaging gives teams security, control, visibility, and management over incoming assets. And anybody who cares about security needs to know this. Continuous packaging builds a chain of trust for all packages and containers used in your infrastructure, and it empowers you to deliver these packages where you need them to go. Provenance provides a chain of trust. Isolation gives you control and visibility, and the package delivery network provides you with the cloud-native acceleration to accommodate distributed teams. Put them all together and you can start continuously packaging. So where can you see and learn more? Well, my colleague Andrew, one of Cloudsmith's senior engineers, is leading a masterclass 1 p.m. today to take a deeper look into continuous packaging in action. So please join in to find out more. And you can also drop by the Cloudsmith exhibition booth anytime today or tomorrow. I will be there together with some of the Cloudsmith engineers. We're happy to answer your questions and show you around things. We're also giving 2 lucky Developer Week attendees a chance to win an Oculus Quest 2, so pop by the booth for details on how to enter that. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen. I hope that you all start into your continuous packaging journey with us, and I'm happy to answer some questions in the Cloudsmith booth, so please drop by.